All right.
No fucking clue.
All right.
Good luck, Brian.
We started.
Absolutely.
Hey everybody, welcome to Firermahgerdden, the rezerkening chat 42 toxic masculinity. A bonus stream appears.
I'm sorry. That was totally me.
Got through the first half, but you fucked up the tosket.
No.
Oh, fuck.
No.
The tosket.
I did that. All of that was done by my design. This is what I
all
wanted.
of it. Okay, I see.
All of
I
it.
see. All of
right.
it was to your plan.
Yes, everything has occurred exactly as I have foreseen it. Anyway, I am your host, Brian, and in lieu of the fact that we do not have a fireside chat today, we have decided that we're going to bring on a special guest. Special guest.
Hi.
Hello.
Hi.
And
Blackwell Bunny.
Yes.
I'm Bunny Blackwell.
Bunny
Blackwell.
Bunny Blackwell.
Blackwell Bunny is the military order.
Oh, okay.
Which is
So we can't call you Blackwell Bunny. We have to call you Bunny Blackwell.
If you call me Blackwell, I'm going to expect you to give me an order next. So, FYI.
oh.
Okay. Well, this is an intriguing
Offer?
option here.
Yeah.
So what are the orders that you actually take?
Depends who's giving them.
Okay. Well, that's a good answer. That's a good politician's answer. All right.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Political ease.
All right.
All right.
Yes. Let's yeah, apologies for the late start. We actually started this early so that we could deal with all of the inevitable glitches, and the glitches ended up just expanding to consume all of the extra time that we put aside in order to deal with them. And then they went over. So it was almost like we baited them by saying, hey, we're going to start this 20 minutes early, just deal with all the glitches. And the glitches were like, ha, fuck you. We have that's just thumbing your nose at us. We're going to just make sure that it's all. Anyway, I've swittered enough. There you go, Brian.
It's fine. So we're going to look at Jonathan Macintosh's video from his new series. What the fuck is his series called again? Like Private Eye shit? I don't know. Whatever. But he's going to educate us on what toxic masculinity is, as he also begins to introduce the concept of it in media, because media is so powerful that we need to look at how the radio waves are going into our brains and they are affecting our behavior. Anyway,
Do I need tinfoil just to watch him? Because I can do that.
Yeah.
Yeah, actually, I give you an order. Protect your brain, soldier. Get some tinfoil. Make sure it's the shiny
Alright.
side out, because that's what reflects the brainwaves.
All right. Okay.
Alright.
I'm good. I'm good.
Okay, get that
Okay.
helmet on.
Yep, I'm good now.
Get those brains lobbed off. Okay. All right.
All right, I'm going to play a bit of Jonathan Macintosh's video.
I do not apologize for any of the sounds that this man will make me make.
No.
Not Brian Macintosh.
No.
So they'll probably be horrifying, potentially sounding like I'm being choked to death.
I've
Yeah.
already snorted twice on the air, so it's fine.
Okay.
Yeah.
And you know what? Fuck off with this never-ending story T-shirt. You don't get to wear that shirt, Jonathan.
That
Macintosh.
bugged me too. That bugged me. That totally did bug me too. I'm like, no, take it off. Except taking it off would be like half naked, and that is equal.
No, I mean wear a shirt, or maybe a brown shirt. I think you'd probably be happy with that, but not the
Yeah.
never-ending story. No.
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 Don't ruin my childhood anymore, please.
Okay,
Falcor, you're not worthy of Falcor.
No, you're not.
Take him off.
Okay, let's
But put something else on instantly, so we don't have to.
have
Exactly.
something on underneath the shirt as you remove the Falcor shirt.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay,
All right.
let's continue.
During your travels around the internet, you may have bumped into the term toxic masculinity.
Oh God!
Usually, the term toxic masculinity is bumping into me. I'm just putting that out there because I don't bump into it.
Yeah, it's just like, oh, he's so, god damn it, just,
Mm-hmm.
it's just watching him is just like,
Yeah, you're feeling the way his face is making.
yes,
Yes.
All right.
my stomach is feeling the way his face is
He
making.
just looks like he shat himself.
This is me.
This is he sharded. All right.
Can you smell that?
We haven't even gotten to the arguments yet, and we're already ad hominem.
He looks like he's making this noise. He totally does. I'm sorry.
Let's see how we can make like Macintosh like 10 million times cooler. Could you imagine this is the face he's making at like he's like covered in woad with a freaking kilt, and he actually looks like he's not an idiot, and he's about to charge like the English or some shit.
No,
okay,
I can't imagine.
I'm with you.
That.
I'm with you.
Yeah.
We are talking about toxic masculinity.
We have to replace. No, I like the framing, but we got to replace what we're framing. It can't be Macintosh. It has to be someone else.
No, anybody else. Fucking Jeremy Renner. I don't care.
I was watching. Okay, this is completely off the ball, but I was watching the original series. The guy who played, the man who played in The Cage, or no, Where No Man Has Gone Before. The first episode of the Star Trek, the original series. The guy who played the one with the psychic powers. Okay, I'm just imagining him here instead of.
Oh yes.
He's actually pretty hot, for somebody who's probably dead now or something. Mm-hmm. No, I think he's still alive. But this is a completely ridiculous tangent, and I apologize. I'm gonna go flagellate myself.
I can get even more obscure. He reminds me of Godan from the movie She. Yeah,
that is obscure.
Godan.
No, I'm not saying.
He had telekinetic mind powers, and he was like this random dude that she ran into in this movie She. It's a bad 80s post-apocalyptic fantasy movie starring the woman from Conan who played Valeria.
Yeah.
All right.
But anyway,
the only way that Macintosh resembles the guy who played that guy in Where No Man Went Before. I should get his name, but I don't have it. But it would be like as if Macintosh was. No, it'd have to be completely different. He sort of looks the same. If Macintosh was more attractive and had more testosterone and actually worked out.
Oh.
I was kind of going Sloth from the Goonies, except Sloth redeems himself. So, yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, Rocky.
Oh God, I think we're running afoul of
YouTube's
directives, aren't we? Because we've just spent the first how many ever minutes insulting this guy.
Yeah, we really should make some progress here.
Yeah,
let's find out what it's not like we haven't heard these fucking arguments before, but let's see how Jonathan does it, because it's like all feminists made a pact to try to explain toxic masculinity and to see who's going to do it the best, and they're all trying to make the same awful arguments, but they're trying to figure out how, I got a way to manipulate and twist facts to suit our, what we need to deliver. Let's see how well Macintosh fares in that.
Okay, so we're talking about twisting facts and manipulating things. Then I think we're totally still on topic for feminism.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So continue.
It usually shows up in connection with particularly abusive male behavior. So things like harassment, homophobia, sexism, or violent outbursts.
All right, Macintosh. So what you're saying is you're coding bad human behavior as male.
Yeah, those things are not endemic to men. Women are perfectly capable to display those things too.
Homophobia,
abuse,
harassment. Yeah, that's what it's like. Toxic masculinity seems to be the feminist attempt at framing all bad human behavior as something innate to men.
Mm-hmm.
You fail.
Oh, and when women do it, there's a quote unquote good reason, right? A good reason for them to have these feelings.
Internalized misogynies and patriarchal thought rays.
They were so abused by the world.
make sure that tinfoil helmet is down really tight there, buddy, so you don't get the patriarchal mind rays.
All right. I'll do a cleanse later.
All right,
let's see. Yeah.
Let's see
how. Well, just as long as it's some sort of vinegar, lemonade, chamomile cleanse. I think that's good for patriarchies.
Yeah, well, I see some people are advocating drinking bleach, but I do not recommend, honestly.
Yeah, after having tried, yes, no.
That's extreme. Okay. That's extreme.
Yeah. But patriarchy you could argue that patriarchy is in itself extreme. So maybe the bleach is called for.
Oh, you could be right.
Okay, all right.
I don't know. Let's continue.
All right, let's continue.
What does it really mean? Well, let's find out.
Oh yeah, it's Pop Culture Detective Agency.
Oh Jesus, those eyes are so fucking creepy.
Notice that they make the swastika.
Yeah, I know.
Oh.
And they are so fucking creepy.
And now
Like,
I can't unsee. Thank you. Thank you. Mm-hmm.
Now, since there tends to be so much confusion and defensiveness surrounding these two words, I
Okay,
think
yeah, Macintosh, you know why there's defensiveness? Because you're calling all of human ills after the identity of half the human race.
Yeah, and whenever they preface it with, "Oh, there's a lot of confusion," that's the same as, "Y'all just need to educate yourself." Bitch, I done educated myself. I'm perfectly aware. I disagree. Okay, like, really? Yeah.
I'm gonna do that. I'm gonna do that.
Yeah.
All right.
All right.
we might need to start off with a really clear example. You know, something that we can all agree on. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah. But honestly, I think he needs his own video, so maybe something else we...
What do you think you're doing?
Okay, that's gonna work. This charming fellow is Biff from the Back to the Future series.
And also the antagonist.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, that nobody likes and nobody respects. And when he eventually gets face down in manure, everybody goes, "Yay!"
Yeah, he gets shit shoved all. What are you holding this up as an icon that people look up to?
Yeah,
Because
nobody
they
is holding
don't.
him up. No.
They don't, Macintosh. They don't like this guy. Biff is supposed to be universally unlikable. He's supposed to be the antithesis of a role model. What are you proving using Biff? What are you proving? That people don't like what you're calling toxic? Well, great. Can we go home now? Nobody likes it.
Yeah, he
But it
may as
doesn't-
well. He may as well
Sorry.
hold up Snidely Whiplash, twirling the ends of his mustache as some example of masculinity,
Toxic
right?
masculinity, yeah.
Yeah.
What's toxic masculinity?
Yeah.
Basically
Yeah.
masculinity that doesn't like serve the interests of women, which is what I think ultimately masculinity, the way I see it, people who talk about toxic masculinity, what they're saying is any act of that men do, any action that men do that is not in the service of women. So maybe it's in the service of other men or their sons or the whatever, they serve themselves. That is all toxic. But if it serves women, it's not. If it's in service to women, it's not. That's what I've gathered from from this. And of course, he's going to go with Biff, which is, as you guys pointed out, an extreme example. He's basically a cartoon character. There is no such man that exists. That's part of his that's so over the top ridiculous about him. There is no such person as Biff. He's like the opposite of fucking Christian Grey. There is no such man as Christian Grey. Such a man can never exist. But he represents everything that most women want, hence that book sold so well. But if they're actually looking for Christian Grey in the world, good fucking luck. By the way, closest thing to Christian Grey in the real world, probably Donald Trump. But anyway, moving on.
Okay.
I hate to say it, but it's true. So
I thought you were going to say Lena Dunham.
no. Ugh.
Oh.
Well, yeah, in some ways, yeah. I was
Yeah.
just talking about in terms of status and all that, but
No,
yeah.
correct. Yeah.
Okay, so anyway, moving on.
Hello? Anybody home? Hello? Hello? Anybody home?
Hello? Hello, anybody home? Huh? Think, McFly, think!
Okay, so let's start with the word masculinity itself. Very broadly speaking, masculinity is a set of behaviors and practices that have traditionally been associated with men and manhood in our culture.
Oh, it's so bland and non-committal that you're right. You're right, Macintosh. That's exactly the definition of masculine, fatuous, and without any substance. But you're right. Okay,
Yeah.
this is mostly
well,
banana.
I think, yeah, no, it is, but at the same time, I want to add to it by saying, I think that when Jonathan McIntosh begins his definition of masculinity by saying, very broadly speaking, and ends with traditionally male, he's trying to avoid using this to describe the gender binary, because feminists have a problem with the gender binary. They can't say that men and women are, two different people, because when you are these people, you believe everybody is equal and everybody has equal should and has the potential for equal interest and equal sort of devotion to anything, okay? That they're all the same. Everyone is the same and should be the same. Therefore, if you talk about anything that a group does that is specifically different, you are going against that narrative, so he has to basically say, well, we're talking in really broad terms here, because I know my listening base is going to say, you know, I'm a girl and I do masculine things, or I'm a guy and I do feminine things. So he has to frame it that way. It's not. It's for no reason other than to avoid getting shit on by his own fan base.
Oh.
I don't even think that.
It's also you're right. Yeah, but he's also setting up the pattern of mirroring. When you start out with really bland, non-committal statements like that, you get your audience nodding along with you. So then later, when you slip in the crazy shit, they're already nodding, and it's going to take more to go, wait, what did you just say? So you always start out with the soft sell, you know, lots of lube.
Yeah.
Alright.
I actually also believe one other thing too. I think he's using the Biff example because he probably had a Biff growing up, or someone that he believes is a Biff. I think this is personal. I think that Jonathan Macintosh may have either bullied or been one himself. It's likely that he has been, because in a way that's what he's doing. So, all right.
Goodness.
And that includes both positive and negative things. Toxic masculinity, on the other hand, is a loose term that's used to refer to a subset of those behaviors which are harmful or destructive.
To women.
It's often used as a sort of shorthand to describe behaviors linked to domination, humiliation, and control.
Because only men do those things.
Only men. There are no female
Yeah.
abusers, no female bullies, no female harassers, no female homophobes, no female racists, nothing. It's all male. It's all male.
And
Go ahead.
this is specifically from a how it affects women standpoint, in terms of how he is presenting it in context. But even in the video he's presenting, it's men humiliating other men. But, you know, the focus is going to be on how it affects women.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, you know it. Because the best way to motivate anybody to do anything that's going to change, you know, to change something, is to point out how it affects women, which is really progressive and totally not like the way we've been doing things since the beginning of fucking time.
You know what's really interesting? On the one, and I saw this study a long time ago. I don't know if I'll ever be able to find it again, but I'll relay the results as best as I can. They did an examination of how sexual people who engage in sexual assault justify what they're doing to themselves. And they actually did a questionnaire. What was interesting about the studies, they actually questioned men and women. These are male and female rapists. And they asked them about the logic. They essentially asked about the logic of why they do what they do. And what they found was that the men would use this kind of domineering language, like she asked to be taken, and this was like verifiable cases of rape, like fighting the fuck to get away, or unconscious, and then no way that they could give legitimate consent because they were completely unconscious. So they would use terms like the dominating terms. The women, on the other hand, would talk about what they did in terms of not having the ability to resist, or being hurt by their rape victim, or being denied by their rape victim. They would talk about it in terms of being a victim. So, you know, that guy said no to me, therefore I have every right, when he's unconscious on the couch, to go and fluff him and rape him, because he said no to me. And I'm a victim of that. And that's how they would frame it. So the women would frame it as being helpless. The men would frame it as being powerful. But in both instances, what resulted was toxic, damaging behavior towards other people.
Yes.
And the real thing was that the rape happened. It didn't really matter how they justified it. They would justify it each inconsistent with the gender role that they had. But regardless, they both the men and the women in this study were rapists. So it's like that was almost how they justified it to themselves was incidental to the fact the harm they were doing. So when Macintosh says male abusers use dominating language this is just their justifications, which are in line with the sex role that they think they have. The reason why they're abusing, the reason why they're raping men and women, has nothing to do with their gender role. It has to do with something else. So it's not toxic masculinity, it's not toxic femininity. These individuals can use these ideas to excuse their behavior, try to explain it away in the dominant paradigm of their gender, but that has no relation to why they are abused, why they hit, why they are harassers, why they bully, and that's for both men and women. And I'll step off the stage because I heard that Bunny wanted to speak.
No, I'm just listening. I was just going to say, in my experience, when it comes to women being predators and women being the assaulters, there is a consistent "I'm a victim." And I will say, in my own experience, I have never seen someone angrier than a woman who considers herself attractive being turned down. When men are turned down, some of them are grumpy, but they tend to go, okay, whatever. But in my experience, turning down women, especially women who are used to being thought of as beautiful and irresistible, it's matter no wet hen. And like they're entitled to this attention. Well, what's wrong with you that you don't want me? And yeah, it's kind of frightening, actually.
Mm-hmm.
But and to put on that, it's not toxic masculinity, it's not toxic femininity, it's toxic people.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And you're trying to, and this is what's so aggravating. You're trying to blame toxic peopleness, toxic people unity on men, and it's sort of fucking pissing me off.
Well, yeah, I mean, he's also he's also ignoring the way in which women's behavior that is toxic can differ from male behavior. Male behavior that is toxic is usually pretty obvious. Mm-hmm. Female behavior that's toxic is usually much more subtle. So he's just ignoring
that's a good point,
that.
Brian.
Yeah,
that's a good point, Brian. In general, and there are exceptions, of course, I'm going to have to put the not all in, I'm still in that phase. But in general, women's behavior tends to be more pernicious because it's more subtle. You look so good today.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It's that kind of stuff. Oh, he's interesting. And a lot of men, because they're not exposed to this and perhaps don't think this way, don't see it until they're, I hate to use the word, until they're red-pilled and go, holy shit, is that what she meant? Is that what she was saying? Really? But as a woman, having grown up around women, it is far worse. It is, I will take being stuffed in a locker any day of the week over the shit that happened in the girls' locker room.
Oh, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Okay. Shall we continue?
Mm-hmm.
It's marked by things like emotional detachment and hypercompetitiveness.
Look, Biff, somebody already asked me to the dance.
Who? That bug George McFly?
I'm going with Calvin Klein, okay?
Calvin Klein? No, it's not okay. You're going with me, understand?
Get your cooties off of me!
When are you going to get it through your thick skull, Lorraine? You're my girl.
It's also connected to the sexual objectification of women.
Banana. Okay. Biff, once again, everybody hates Biff. What's your point, John Macintosh? You're trying, because the whole concept of toxic masculinity is more than saying there are guys who are assholes and we hate them. The point of saying toxic masculinity is, one, to blame men or to make men responsible for the abuse and nasty behavior that is actually not a male thing, it's a human thing. And two, to say that society supports them in doing so.
Mm-hmm.
Everyone hates Biff Macintosh. Everyone.
Yeah, I was just going to say, everybody raise their hand who actually likes Biff and thinks he's behaving in an acceptable way. Oh, nobody? That's right.
Yeah.
So, yeah, Macintosh, what are you trying to say? We should all hate, well, it's already do. We all hate Biff. We don't like that guy.
Yay! So are we all right? Like, are we in agreement now? Can we go on a fucking picnic? Like, yeah,
No.
Biff's an asshole. Yeah.
No, because what he's trying to do is he's then trying to make other people, other men who are not Biff, take responsibility for Biff.
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
Biff
is not only the antagonist, but he's actually a moron. He is a buffoon. So he's not even an antagonist that you respect. It's not like somebody that is a villain that you're sort of like tempted to see their side. Where you're
Hannibal
like,
Lecter.
oh yeah, like a Hannibal Lecter figure or Hans Gruber or something, where you're like,
Mm-hmm.
oh, I could see why you guys did that. But no, Biff is not. He's not supposed to be. He is a joke, and so to use him as some kind of example, when you know that it's the the exception to the rule, that most people don't like think that that's acceptable behavior, and most people don't celebrate that, or they're not. Most guys know that it's patently obvious that that's not really, acceptable. It's a retarded place to start from. On top of that, if Jonathan Macintosh is going to try to come to the conclusion that there are people like this out there, that there are Biffs in the world, and I wouldn't, maybe not to the exaggerated extent that he exists in this film. I don't think that you're going to convince those people to change who they are by watching a 6-minute video by Jonathan Macintosh. If a actual Biff is watching this, he's not going to be like, well, man, I guess I've been behaving in a toxically masculine way, and I should probably stop doing that. It's not going to happen. That's like, that's literally the same thing as tell rapists not to rape. A rapist is not going to stop raping if you tell them not to do it, because a rapist, a real one, does not give a shit about what they do to other people because they have problems. That's why they're raping people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And let's talk about the dynamics of men between men. Yeah. I've seen Biffs in real life. I mean, not that bad, but they're creeping up on the edge, and the reaction from their male peer group was not positive. It was like, what is wrong with you? You're an idiot and you're acting like a buffoon.
Mm-hmm.
So
I think that Macintosh actually is being a little bit more subtle than just being. What he's doing is he's setting up. He knows that nobody likes Biff. Nobody in the peer group, the society doesn't. Nobody likes Biff. He's the villain of the piece. But I think he's trying to use our dislike of Biff to set up and sell something to us.
To say there are Biffs everywhere under every.
And that
men,
men are responsible for them. And incidentally, I'm pretty sure that this clip ends with Lorraine kicking him in the balls.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
So,
or maybe that there is a Biff in every man. Schrodinger's Biff.
How can we
don't
dismiss
know
that part? Like, obviously the filmographers believe that an extremely over-aggressive come-on is worth a guy getting kicked in the balls. Which is, admittedly, he definitely, once he was like catching her and she sort of had the right to defend herself, but it's also a pretty severe assault as well. It sort of equalizes out there. But what I'm saying ultimately is, if the people who created the character of Biff thinks that his behavior is deserving of a severe sexual assault that can potentially, in some severe cases, kill him or render him infertile, I don't think that they're saying he's a paragon of virtue.
This is a good point, Allison. And what Macintosh is doing is a classic straw man. He is holding up an exaggerated position, saying, we all agree this is bad, right? But then following it up with, so if you have anything in common with this position, you are also bad. And that's the open and shut of it. If you have anything in common with Biff, anything at all, and we all know how far we can reach to make, connections between these behaviors. All of a sudden, catcalling is akin to rape, right? Then if you have anything in common with them, well, you're toxic masculinity, just like Biff. And everybody hates Biff, so don't be like Biff.
Don't approach women. It's a hate crime.
I think you're right. I think you're exactly right, Allison. This is just a straight up straw man.
You know what's really interesting? People like Jonathan Macintosh and Anita Sarkeesian and other like feminist pop culture critic types, they actually normally are very much in defense of the way women are represented in media. So if a woman is represented in media in a certain way, they come out and they say, this is not endemic of female behavior. This is not what they're like. This is wrong because it's creating like a trope that is a myth about femaleness. And they also do the same thing when it comes to men of protected groups, such as black men or other sort of, ethnic men like Asian men, whatever, they always come out of the woodwork and they say, oh, you shouldn't, have the Asian be a martial artist in this movie, or you shouldn't have the black man be, playing like a gangster or a thug in this movie, because that's wrong and that stereotypes those men. But when it comes to white men, though, and they're portrayed in a negative way, as in this Biff example, and later on he's actually going to show us another negative example. It's not something that needs to be defended. It's something that needs to be warned against. It's something that needs to be used to say, well, yeah, this does happen with men. It's because this is a template that we can criticize without any backlash. It's something that I noticed that I find very interesting. When it comes to white men, all bets are off. But if it's anything else, then we have to like preface everything and be really, it's not cool to portray Hispanic guys as drug dealers, because I don't know, because it's racist or whatever. But
you actually bring up an interest. Like listening to you, I had a thought. I mean, if you actually criticize women, and if you can even say not all women, even though a lot of these behaviors a lot of women engage in, even if you say that not all women. These individuals who will use the term toxic masculinity, which basically says that all men take part in a system of dominating, abusing, and bullying, and women. They will use that term, that generalizing term about men, but they will cry to the hills if you just allude to the idea that there may be things that women do that are negative, and it may be a result either of female biology or their socialization.
But I think this gets back to the rhetoric of it's the right of the oppressed to be able to take down their oppressor, and punching up and punching down, which I think is a giant load of horse manure, by the way. But if you give yourself permission to only put your criticism one way, then all of a sudden, everything is fair game but this.
Yeah.
No, I was just thinking. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
I was just going to say it's absolutely intellectually stultifying, and it is making people dumber.
And what I was thinking when you said that was, isn't it interesting how this discussion about who is the oppressed and who is the oppressor is off limits for men? Men can't be part of it. It's like this round table council about who is going to be portrayed as the oppressor in academia, in government, in media, and men are excluded from it. They can't actually speak at that table. It's amazing. Right? And I just found it hilarious.
You're exactly right. And it's been funny for me because I've been watching this progression for a while, and the sieve is getting finer and finer. First, white man, you can't talk. Gay man, well, you can't talk now because you're no longer oppressed, because that's starting to come up, that gay men are no longer an oppressed class. Well, women can still talk, but are you a white woman? Oh, sorry, intersectional feminism says that you don't get a voice here. Go stand in the corner. And the sieve is going to get finer and finer and finer until only like albino Alsatian kin have the right to talk about anything. And intellectual. Oh, anyway, I've been watching it happen. I've been watching the slide of who gets to speak.
Mm-hmm. That progressive stack, though.
Yeah, and it's just going to keep going.
And
in my opinion.
In closing, what I'm getting at ultimately is that in Jonathan Macintosh's world, there is no such thing as a black Biff, and there are no such thing as Heathers. Because that would not be okay.
Yes, I was just about to say, why isn't he talking about Mean Girls?
No. I actually have a Mean Girls clip queued up, so we can look at it.
Good.
Like, I have a few clips queued up to respond to a lot of the stuff that he.
But we have to get
said.
through this first.
But we got to get through this first, yeah.
And just promise me you're not going to try and make fetch happen.
You can't sit with us. Okay, I'm going to hit play now.
Okay.
As well as other predatory sexual behaviors.
Because women can't be predatory, but we'll get to that too.
You know you want me to give it to you.
Shut your filthy mouth. I'm not that kind of girl.
Oh, well, maybe you are and you just don't know it yet.
I like this guy with the 3D glasses, by the way. But anyway.
It's also linked very closely with aggression, intimidation, and violence.
You want to take a poke at me?
Jesus Christ! Okay, I'm sorry, my mind must be totally fucked up, but when he did the whole cupping the back of his head and saying, do you want to take a poke at me?
I know. My mind went there too. I'm sorry, Elson.
Hey. It was in 1989. In 1989.
Oh, come on.
I know. I was hearing a soundtrack. It was awful.
Well, you
Okay.
ladies, I swear, pervs.
Actually, when Biff was being so aggressive towards Lorraine, that was sort of hot.
Well,
I'm a horrible person.
No. I don't think it is horrible, because that's another thing that Macintosh may not quite understand. Now, I'm not saying I agree with that particular instance, but let's keep going, because he does try to draw equivalence between Biff's behavior towards Lorraine in Back to the Future and another couple characters later on.
Okay.
The modifier toxic is used to highlight the fact that these kinds of behaviors carry with them some potentially serious and even deadly consequences. Much of this type of masculinity is relational, and as such, it's mostly defined in opposition to anything culturally associated with women.
God, this
Sorry,
motherfucker.
What?
So basically, yeah, toxicness only, in his mind, toxicness is that even a word? That's only something.
Toxicity.
Thank you. Toxicity is only something that can exist because it's in opposition to women. So now, of course, they will also argue that when men are violent towards other men, it's a problem too. But that's more like the canary in the coal mine. Like, they're worried that violence between men will spill over into the world of women. And that's the reason why they're afraid. It's not really because men are offing each other, because men have been offing each other since for as long as there have been tribes that were trying to protect other tribes from losing their women and their resources. So that's not a problem. It's the fact that there's a chance that women could get swept up in it or become damaged by it. That's when it becomes a problem for them.
I'm just going to point something out. What he's essentially saying is toxic masculinity is arbitrarily defined by society as being associated with manhood or maleness. These characteristics are arbitrarily being associated with men. Well, thank you, Macintosh. That you're absolutely right. All of this domination, this abuse, this harassment, this bullying are being arbitrarily assigned by society to the male of the species, when in fact it applies equally to the female of the species. So yeah, you're right. It's completely wrong. It's actually toxic peoplelinity. Why are you continuing to call it toxic masculinity? Like, you've just undermined your own premise. Does anybody else see this? He just undermined his own premise. He's saying the toxic masculinity is arbitrarily associated with men. Well, yeah. Why are you calling it toxic masculinity now? Like, why aren't you calling it what it is? If it's arbitrarily associated with men, and it also relates to female behavior, unless you're saying it isn't arbitrarily associated with men and women don't actually engage in those behaviors, but that's not what you're saying here. You're saying it is arbitrarily associated with men. Well, if that's the case, then what you're talking about isn't toxic masculinity, it's toxic peoplelinity.
And if it's strictly relational, why aren't we talking about the individual examples of those relations and not applying this brush to every single person who happens to have that chromosome?
Well, I think what he's saying, though, is that because he already defined like these aggressive behaviors as something that is masculine. So even if women engage in it, they're engaging in masculine behaviors.
Oh, for fuck's sakes.
You got to think of it that way, because remember, in the eyes of these people, gender is a social construct. So the only thing that can be criticized are individual behaviors that exist within all the genders. So basically, stuff that is associated with what men normally do and stuff that is associated with what women normally do all get lumped into, they get poured into the same bowl and mixed into a gender salad. But before we do that, because that's what we'd like to do, we want to take out the stuff that's bad, all of the ingredients we don't want in our salad. Well, we know there can't be anything wrong with women's behavior, because that's fine. Like, they're the victim, so they can't actually have toxic behavior that we need to deal with. So we can leave those ingredients alone. Male behavior, or what we consider traditionally male behavior, does have some problematic parts. So we better take out these bits, the violence, the aggression, the competitiveness, the desire to win, the desire to be assertive and to be stoic, or as he puts it, emotionally unavailable. But that stoicism, all those things need to be taken out because they're toxic even if they could lead to toxicness, we need to remove them just in case. You know, it's like 1 out of every M&Ms could be poison. Why have any M&Ms at all? Then we get to put it all in the bowl, and then everybody can take from wherever. When women exhibit toxic behavior, in the eyes of these people, they're taking it from male behavior. So men are still at fault. That's what I think is going on. So even if he says it's arbitrary, he's only saying that because he's got to still play up to that whole gender is a social construct, therefore I can only criticize behaviors.
Oh, it makes me crazy. Makes me crazy.
Yeah.
Brian, I agree with you here. I am perfectly happy to discuss things that women do that are shitty, that I've noticed as a trend women tend to do overall. I am perfectly happy to discuss things men do that are shitty as a trend overall. But the second you apply toxic gender to it, as in all of these behaviors are toxic and they only or majorly apply to this one gender, you have poisoned the well and you're never going to get any understanding of it.
Yeah. Well, they don't want, but that was something that we talked about just yesterday. The people don't understand men. I mean, like, I learned a lot about men and maleness from being on Honey Badger Radio, both like evolutionarily, psychologically, etc. I learned more about that by working with the Honey Badgers and watching a lot of content and talking with people in various, fireside chats and on shows and stuff than I have ever learned before. And there's something about, that says something about what society says about what they think about men. They don't want to know. They don't care. And academia really doesn't care because that's where a lot of this comes from.
Tell me about it.
They don't have an interest in men. They don't want to understand them. We have that problem has been, that equation has been solved. We didn't have all of the fucking integers. We didn't have all the variables, but we figured it out. And it is men are bad, testosterone bad, women good. And that's basically it.
You brought up academia. Allison, do you have anything to add here before I launch? Allison?
Did we lose?
Oh, I was just.
Hey.
Sorry. I went to the bathroom. Sorry.
Oh, hey, okay.
I put it in the chat, but apparently nobody's watching.
I don't see any. I can't see anything. But so you brought up academia. I hope you'll indulge me. I may not ever get a chance to have your kind of listener base again, so I'm just going to kind of roll with it. So academia, it makes me insane because I'm in healthcare and we have to learn about men's issues. It's part of our curriculum. It's part of our syllabus. If you are in healthcare, you know exactly what the #1 demographic for suicide is here in Canada. You know exactly that it's fucking men. And yet, there are thousands and thousands of healthcare professionals that do not pursue this, that do not support it, that continue to feed into women's mental health, and it drives me bonkers because it's one thing, I tend to be a little bit on the soft side if people don't fucking know better. But I know these cunts know better because I sat in class with them. They just don't give a shit. And that makes me so angry. Okay, I'm done. We can go on now.
Okay.
I got it out of my system.
It's true. It's true. All right, we're going to continue the video.
Yep.
Which is why toxic masculinity is driven by this overwhelming fear of emasculation. That is to say, the fear of being perceived by others as feminine and therefore unmanly.
I think we should just go.
All right, we'll just keep going. I want to say something to it, but
it'll never end. We'll have to see this guy's mug. Maybe he looks like this because he's. Some people were saying in the chat or in the patron chat that he's trying to get his back in the good graces of Anita because he showed a little too much character in some of those outtakes. Maybe this is him on some sort of like character suppressing drug.
Let me ask you guys a question. What is the definition of emasculation? If you don't know it off the top of your head, could you look it up? I want to because he says men, they have an irrational fear of being emasculated.
I'm a clinical kind of person, so I go removal of the genitals. That's where my brain goes. Like,
isn't that just castration?
Yeah, but it's also termed emasculation too.
Yeah, emasculation is the wangle as well. That's a very technical term, and that we use all the time here. But yeah, so when I think emasculation, my brain goes the literal removal of the secondary sex characteristics that indicate a male.
Okay.
So.
All All
Yeah,
right.
well, I mean, there's also a very, very long history of cutting off men's genitals to create eunuchs in throughout human history. It's like this is something that's been done. That's actually sort of a horrible. If you think about it, it's a pretty fucking horrible thing that only men were subject to. If that was a case of women, that they were subject to a mutilation of their body because they were women, just to make them more useful. I'm trying to think of anything in the history, like maybe foot binding, but it wasn't. Foot binding was only practiced by one culture. Castration was practiced by almost every single culture on Earth. So it's pretty pervasive, and so being afraid or being disgusted or just, you know, that seems to be legitimate.
All right, so somebody in the chat defined it, so I'll go ahead and read it. Simple definition of emasculate. To make a man feel less masculine, to deprive a man of his male strength, his role, etc., to make something weaker or less effective. So now...
Yeah, but the thing is that...
Go ahead.
So I think where he's going with this is that men engage in toxic masculine behaviors because when they are feeling like they're being emasculated. But the problem with that is the whole process of making or either exploiting the biological situation or creating the situation through social engineering, this idea of men having to constantly prove their identity. In other words, creating a constant fear of emasculation in men is also very useful to people, because it means that every time you need something done, you can say, well, aren't you a real man? And get someone to do it. So if the negative of that, and I use an example of breaking cults, you know, if breaking men to this idea that their identity as men is fragile, does indeed produce a small percentage of men who go ballistic. If breaking a cult does produce a small percentage of cults when they grow into stallions who just become completely psychotic, you still get a vast majority of men and cults who are useful. You know, so if you really want to question this, the toxic or the and it's not really toxic masculinity, it's toxic emasculation of men by society. If you want to discuss this as a negative thing, then discuss the whole thing, Macintosh, including the fact that making men or creating men who are afraid of emasculation or exploiting men's natural fear of emasculation, whichever or whatever proportion of A or B it is, that itself is not just where toxic masculinity is. It is actually a great harm done to men as a group. It makes men useful to society, and it also, because it's almost like society, I don't know, hits men with a bat, and some of the men who are hit with a bat become really useful. They become great workers, and some of the men who are hit with a bat get pissed and start hitting people with bats. And John Macintosh is saying, well, hitting people with bats is toxic masculinity, and not actually noticing that, you know, we have a whole line of men, you know, society has a whole line of men lined up to be hit with a bat.
Right.
You know, that's not toxic. It's the fact that some men turn around and start hitting other people with bats. That's what's toxic. Not the initial batting. I don't know. It's
I mean, I get what you're saying. I think that I get what you're saying, and I understand that. I also think that what I think John Macintosh wants, because that statement, I don't know, and this is something that feminists use all the time when it comes to giving a shit about men's feelings or men, you know, men's issues, is they start by saying, well, we're trying to do that if you guys would only behave in less masculine ways. We can help you. And the masculine ways that men behave are not, there's no attempt to understand it. There's no curiosity. There is simply the assertion and the assumption that it's wrong, it's broken, and needs to be fixed. There's something about masculinity that's wrong. We can't address it because that's in its nature to be that way. Therefore, we want to change it. And the way we do it is by challenging men. Challenging them in the same way, using the bat, as you put it, But instead of saying, why don't you man up and do X, they're saying, why don't you man up and stop being a man so much?
Why don't you man up and behave more like a woman?
Yeah. Why don't you talk
Like,
about your feelings?
seriously?
Why don't
Oh my God.
why don't you make peace with the original sin that you were born with? And also, why don't you forget about the really good things about being a man, which are, and I'm not saying that women don't have this, but these are the things that I think are that comes out of masculinity, and that is things like individualism, healthy competition, the desire to be a better individual, like, to grow, to challenge yourself, to understand the world around you, to build, who you are, develop and find yourself on your own terms, to practice stoicism, control over your emotions and your environment, not in a dominating way, because they use the word domination, but that's because that's a buzzword that makes people think, oh my God, it's a fucking, that's why he showed the picture of Donald Trump, because he's trying to, make people think that's what toxic masculinity is. He doesn't even understand Donald Trump. But anyway, it's more about control, self-control. Think about all of the great things that men have done in history, from builders to artists to architects to poets to writers to heroes. And those are the things that not only makes those men great, but makes other men look up to those men. But those are all masculine traits. I mean, traditionally masculine traits. And people like Jonathan Macintosh, they hate that stuff. They absolutely hate it. And they want it to go away. Because they want to live in a world where meritocracy does not exist. Because in their minds, everybody is the same. Everybody should be equal. And there should be no one that's better than anyone else.
That's what I was just about to say. Mm-hmm. Men are overall better at certain things. I mean, in terms of spatial and competitive and risk-taking behavior and physical strength. And that's just the way it is. So, I mean, there are exceptions at either end of the curve, of course, but we're talking overall, yeah? But when you admit that men might actually be better at some things, and maybe that being better has to do with male traits that women perhaps don't like, then it has to be toxic masculinity. So stop inventing things you're making women look dumb, okay? Just stop it. Stop being smart.
As much as feminists have been trying to destroy men and manliness and maleness, it has been effective on a lot of men. But for the ones that actually managed to persevere past it, it's made them stronger. They started as early as circumcision. Like, this is like, moments after the baby is born. They learn how hard their life is going to be. And many of them don't get past that. But some do. And so John is starting the story in the middle. I'm going back to what Allison originally said, which is that Jonathan Macintosh is indeed starting his story from the middle, because he doesn't understand men and he doesn't want to understand men. He thinks that he's doing man right.
Well, he also thinks, and what's really remarkable about the feminist rhetoric around this, they want to blame men for the process. It's like blaming colts for being broken, and they want to simultaneously blame them for that, for the negative effects of that, or even the positive effects of that. And then they also, but here's the thing: if men had as much control over the gender roles as feminists are positing, why wouldn't they choose a gender role that doesn't involve this much uncertainty? Like, maybe there's, like, why would they choose a gender role in which they can be emasculated by women in particular? Like, why wouldn't, I mean, even if they would allow that they could be emasculated by other men, why would they choose to be emasculated by women? I mean, if they're the ones who are controlling all of this, why would they choose? Even if they were choosing a situation where they could be emasculated by other men in competition over manhood, why would men choose a situation? Why, if men are responsible for toxic masculinity, why would they choose a situation in which women have so much power over their identity?
Mm-hmm.
Well, that's a good question, except that you would also have to work under the assumption that women have power over men, which Jonathan Macintosh will never admit. So
Oh.
no, women don't have power over men, Allison. No, you have to get into the head of these.
But then, how
people.
do you say things like, "Well, or what are you just you feeling intimidated by a strong woman?" Like, this is something that he would say.
It
He would
is.
implicitly acknowledge that women can make men feel emasculated, but at the same time, as he doesn't recognize that that is a power that women have, and why, if men controlled this whole system, would they grant that power to women?
Yeah.
Okay.
All right, let's continue.
Okay.
Many of the most popular male heroes in movies are depicted as engaging in at least a few of these toxic behaviors.
What toxic behaviors?
Dominating
rapey
women.
rapiness.
Yeah, come on.
I'm surprised they didn't. Yeah.
It's the Sean
surprised
Connery
he-
Bond. You know what's going to
I
happen.
know. You can play the
Oh, is there
Eastwood.
rape gonna happen now? Let's just see.
Rape.
Well, you watch the behavior of
Watch
the
and
woman in
see.
this. Watch the
Yeah.
behavior of the woman in this video very carefully, because Jonathan Macintosh is ignoring that. He's hoping people will only look at James Bond in this, but look at the woman.
Let's both play.
But because they're the good guys, their actions are framed as admirable displays of strength, power, and manhood.
Oh, for fuck's sake, she's smiling throughout this entire thing. Oh, and then she's like grabbing him closer.
Oh,
So
yeah.
in other words, what just happened is they play wrestled until they had sex.
Yeah, and not to be vulgar, but when someone's attacking me is on top of me, the last thing I do is spread my legs open wider. Which, if you look at the clip, she does.
She does.
And
She
that's
opens
a
his
huge-
legs for him
She
immediately.
opens her legs immediately. I'm
Yeah.
like,
You can go back to the. Here, I'll go back to it so you can see. Watch how fast she opens her legs. They were open basically before he got in the room. It was just
Yeah.
like.
Unless she's trying to get guard on him.
You ever
but I don't
like
think-
no.
Okay,
That's
let's
not
watch.
it. She's not really gonna fight him. You ever like walked up to a supermarket that has those like doors that automatically open as you approach? That's basically her legs to James Bond. Watch.
Oh! Okay,
no,
all right,
watch.
let's watch it. Watch it.
And ladies in the chat, you know I'm right. Okay, watch this.
Now let's both play.
Boom.
Oh.
Because they're the
Oh,
good
that's
guys,
not trying to
their
get
actions are
guard.
framed as admirable
Yeah,
displays
no,
of
it's
strength,
not.
Yeah.
No.
power, and manhood.
Okay, Macintosh, please shut the fuck up. Can we just enjoy how hot this is?
He does have a way of ruining shit with his fucking whiny ass voice, isn't it?
Oh
Okay.
yeah, he does. It's like,
This is
Really, ladies, ladies. do you want the world to just be full of Macintosh clones? Seriously, just think about it. And you know what's really funny is I know feminists. If they actually ask themselves this, and if they really look in their cunt of cunts, if they feel really deep down into the center of themselves, or the lower center of themselves, they know that an entire world full of this guy Macintosh, Jonathan Macintoshes, would be the worst thing ever. And I know that because I have had feminist friends in the past. And okay, first of all, daddy issues, big time. Second of all, they love men like this. Like this Sean Connery. Like they love men like this even more than I do. Or women like me do.
They probably like Sean Connery now.
Yeah, they want a strong, like they don't, that all of this feminist independent strong woman shit, what that is if you go back and watch her, how she's resisting him, sort of, that's all that is. They really just want a strong man to push past their protests of being strong and independent and just show them what a sacred, fragile little child they really are.
Oh,
Which is
welcome.
why they embrace Islam. I'm just throwing it out there.
I'm not touching that right now. But welcome to the explosion of the kink community. You were exactly right.
You
And the
said
mental-
Islam and
yeah.
explosion within like a few seconds.
Yeah.
Oh
it's
my
true.
God.
I don't know.
You touched it. You touched the poop. No, okay,
That
we'll move
joke
on.
was the bomb. Okay.
Oh.
No, but seriously, that's what they want, even more than women who are not feminists. I swear to fucking God, they want a man who lays down the law and is totally boss. And what really pisses them off, I think ultimately is that men aren't laying down the law and being boss.
Oh, you could do a whole hangout on this. Welcome to the kink community right now, where you get a spate of feminist indoctrinated women desperately looking for someone to take them roughly from behind, but
I know.
only in a feminist way with a whole laundry list of rules because their vagina is a precious, precious gift.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So
Well,
Like
dominate
delicate
me,
widow
but don't
flower.
dominate me. Yeah, exactly. Dominate me, but don't dominate me. Dominate me now, the way I say. Why aren't you taking control when I'm telling you exactly how to dominate me?
I think that a lot of women who are attracted to feminism are attracted to the mythology of ultimate male power, because in a lot of cases they're afraid of a world in which that doesn't exist, in which the buck stops with them. I think they need a daddy. Even if he's a mean daddy, they need a daddy more than any other woman, which is why they're drawn to these like I think about what feminists say men can do, and I'm like, what? And no insult to you meant to you guys, but it's still like, no.
I
What
don't
men?
even honestly. I don't even believe like this kind of stuff that we're looking at with Sean Connery and this woman. I don't even. This is not even like especially kinky or fringe. This is normal. I think that this is. I mean, look at how well 50 Shades of Grey sold, and even then, I think that that is actually like a man that is assertive and knows what he wants and can also read that a woman is interested. I don't think that this is that far fetched or rapey a thing. I mean, I think that to deny that is to ignore not only not want to understand men, but to also ignore women's what they like too.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, I mean, and it's almost like feminists take that to a pathological degree. Most women of other generations were like, yeah, men are in charge, wink, wink, nudge, nudge. Not really. And we don't really expect men to embody such a high and profound level of agency. But feminists are like, no, we want the whole shebang. We want men to essentially be gods compared to us. And then they turn around and they blame people like us for being, I don't know, flattering to men.
Mm-hmm.
Whatever. I mean, it's like that one guy who said on the Future of Men's Rights that I video that I made, I'd rather be whipped than seen as a victim. Well, that's exactly feminism. Feminism whips the shit out of men, but it whips the shit out of men because, guys, you're gods. Let's face it. You're the most powerful creatures on the planet. Hell, the universe. You blink and the world goes out of existence, according to feminism. So it's just what can us widow women do but just give you a good tongue lashing for being angry gods in the face of us tiny little mortal infants called women. Anyway. And then feminists turn around and say that we're flattering to men. Mm-hmm. I mean, because it's they blame men for a lot of shit, but that's sort of flattering. It must be flattering to have a whole movement dedicated to depicting you as a god.
That needs to be taken down, obviously.
Well, it still depicts, but no matter what they do, men are still a god.
Oh, I know. It's exactly, and that's the irony.
As gods.
Oh, no. It is the assumption of a platform of power that is the only thing that allows such a targeted effort to try and tear down the statue. If men were not in their cunt of cunts, as you say, I may steal that, by the way, Allison, that's fabulous. But in their cunt of cunts, they're acknowledging men's strength and men's true power. I'm not talking about systemic power. I'm talking about personal power. And that is the only thing that makes it okay to bring them down. Mm. If men really were pathetic, then we'd have nothing to say, right? As, women, apparently, because women and feminism is so often conflated. But men are in power. But it's not that they're in power because they haven't earned it. I mean, they fucking built everything. Let's just put a point on it, shall we? Our civilization was built by men. Men bled and fought and died. Women contributed, absolutely. But everything we have around us here in Western civilization has been on the backs and graves of men. And I'm just saying that right out there. So that's my opinion.
I'm not detracting from what men have done. I'm saying that.
Yeah, no, I didn't think you were.
There's an aspect to this that is flattering, which is why I believe men like Jonathan Macintosh buy into it. It's a flattering lie. And like I said, there was a commentator who said, Allison, I would rather you whip me than see me as a victim. Feminism, the one thing that feminism will never do to men is see them as a victim. And there's a lot of men who that appeals to. I'm just putting it out there.
Yeah, that's chewy. I'm going to think about that for a while. I think that's a good point. I'm just going to roll it around.
Roll it around.
Roll it around.
No matter what happens to men. Oh, is he doing the tongue thing?
I'm rolling.
Okay,
tongue thing?
I'm gonna hit play. No, I'm not.
No, hit play. Biff did the tongue thing earlier. Yeah. Don't know if you caught that.
This is the best part right here.
Felix Leiter.
Hello?
Felix, say hello to Dink.
Hi, Dink.
Dink, say goodbye to Felix. Man talk.
Dink?
That was the best.
No.
But here's the thing though. Dink was, she was like a beach bunny, not very bright, and she was a thought. That's what we call a thought, and that was all that was. I don't know, but of course Macintosh is gonna say, look at how awfully sexist that is. But that shit was amazing. I mean, I want to hear that butt smack again because it was louder than the speech.
That was pretty good.
It was. It was amazeballs.
Felix, say hello to Dink.
Hi, Dink.
Dink, say goodbye to Felix. Man talk.
That wasn't even like from the actual.
No,
was
they
just
added that
done
in.
later.
I mean, her name is Dink, and she was just like, oh, that was just a joke. I mean, it was like a one-off.
I have to say, to get off in a personal moment, maybe, I don't know, Allison, I don't know, but if there's one thing that I really resent feminism for is the distinct lack of spanks in my life. Because it is totally the affectionate camaraderie ass spank is now gone.
Well, you know what I was just gonna say. I spank my girlfriend all the time. She loves it.
Yeah,
it's just the way she does it to me too. So,
yes, exactly.
It's just like whatever.
Brian, do you call her dumbass while you spank her?
He didn't call her a dumbass. But
I'm just saying that adds, dumbass.
No, but I have said, I've jokingly said stuff like, men are talking, or could you go in the kitchen, or whatever. But I mean, it's just the way we rib each other. It's not, it's that's just it. Like that we're it's like we're just having fun at each other's expense. The fact that she can have a laugh at what I'm saying, and then maybe get me back later on, just shows that we're close enough that we can berate each other and nobody gets their feels hurt. But Macintosh wants to live in a world where no one can ever do that stuff. And I'm telling you, I bet the guy was bullied. Or he was a bully, and then he bullied the wrong guy, and that guy knew karate and kicked his ass. And then he was like, I'm going to devote my life to fighting bullies. And then he's realized bullies are all men. Because I was one of them, but I'm one of the good ones now. All I need to do is save everybody else. He is the one good man.
Oh, the one good man that ruins lives. Yeah.
Yeah. All right. So anyway, let's keep going.
Yeah.
It's like Doc's
Yeah, I
always
know, I
saying.
know. If you put your mind to it, you can accomplish anything.
And even when those behaviors are not celebrated, it's often framed as acceptable or normal and then excused as just guys being guys or boys being boys.
That's not normal. But
No,
that's not normal behavior. Somebody in a tree with binoculars. That's some shit that only happens in a movie in the 80s. but I can tell you, as someone who grew up in the 80s, that did not actually happen that often.
No, and I think it got canonized by the the song.
Yeah.
What I'm talking about.
Yeah.
And that's the quintessential 80s boys being boys and stalking attractive blonde women who are changing. But it did not tend to happen. I was alive in the 80s, putting the and no.
It's funny, that sort of stuff was very common in 80s movies that were like about teenagers that are coming of age. It actually says a lot about the sexual power that women have, that men would put themselves in immense risks just to get a glimpse of them. And I think that is something that, of course, Macintosh will never actually admit to, but there's something to that I think should be understood as well. Is that women have that much sexual power. And who changes in front of an open window anyway? Anyway.
An exhibitionist. Come on.
Obviously. All right. Let's keep going.
To make sure there's no misunderstanding, I want to make something absolutely clear.
Please don't hit me, bro, because I'm going to explain that it's not all.
This term is not a condemnation of men or manhood.
Yes, it is.
Because again, toxic masculinity only refers to a particular set of harmful actions and cultural practices.
Okay, but here's the problem, Jonathan.
Oh my!
You can say that. Okay, I might offend Honey Black or Bunny Blackwell when I say this. You can say that being a nigger only applies to certain toxic black behaviors. But what gives you the fucking right to
Allison,
decide?
I cannot believe you just said black. Like it really? I'm so offended. No, go on.
No, but seriously, what gives you the right? What gives you the right to say that, first of all, that these behaviors are actually only exhibited by men, which they aren't, and that men are, even if you're saying not all men are responsible for this, which you actually are, because you're saying that the toxic masculinity exists on a spectrum with other masculinities that enforce toxic masculinity, but you're also associating qualities that are not masculine with masculinity.
Thank you. I could cross out toxic masculinity here and derby or ladies field hockey or cheerleading, and all of those things would apply.
Yeah, except for maybe emotional detachment is more associated with men, but not really emotional detachment, Macintosh, because men are still expected to be compassionate to the people that they're protecting and providing for, but they are expected to put their emotions aside.
There's no crying in derby. There's no crying in cheerleading. It's the same thing. It's emotional detachment. You suck it up and you cry later. And to say that this is a no. You're just not looking at aggregates or groups of competitive women who have every single one of those traits. And not even sports teams. You can see all of those things in academia as well. Especially I'm sure I might offend some of your audience, but you want to look at things like hypercompetitiveness, aggression, intimidation, violence, objectification, and predation. Nursing students. Okay? And nurses, the old thing about nurses eating their own is absolutely dead accurate.
So this list, I went through and found YouTube videos that give examples of how these are either A, not specifically masculine behaviors, or B, not necessarily bad things. Also, his list it looks longer than it actually is, because you can lump some of this stuff together. Aggression, intimidation, and violence could be basically put in the same category. You could just name the whole thing aggression, and that would include intimidation and violence. Sexual objectification and sexually predatory behavior, which I think is what he wanted to say, could also probably be lumped together. So it really would come down to three things: emotional detachment, hypercompetitiveness, aggression, and sexually predatory behavior. And that would be the end of it, which isn't, none of those things are specifically male. Women can do them too. And women often do. And I do have examples of those things. And also emotional detachment, that's stoicism, but he doesn't understand that.
Well, I mean, in a negative sense, emotional detachment might be sociopathy, but sociopathy isn't stoicism. Stoicism is caring, but putting your own needs aside for someone else. Sociopathy is like the exact opposite. So, and nowhere, okay, so maybe this is the extreme of positive masculine characteristics, but this isn't why these people engage in that behavior. It's because it's this, they engage in these abusive bullying behaviors because either they're assholes, which is a universal personhood trait, or because they were subject to this kind of behavior. So what does this add?
And I can take every single one of that bullet list and make an argument for why it is actually a positive trait when controlled. Every single one.
Well, we can get back to that. I took that list down in some notes, so we can probably come
All
back
right.
to that if there's time. Let's keep going.
And none of those behaviors are inherent or biological traits of men.
Wait, so he just said that those are not inherently...
Wait, what?
Yes, he said that those are not inherently biological male traits, but they do qualify as toxically male traits.
And
That
none
goes
of-
back to what I said about the gender salad, where they're basically saying these are things that men usually do, but women can do them too. But when women do them, they're still masculine. So it's when women are behaving in this way, and according to this logic, they're behaving like men, and that's why it's a problem. But feminism doesn't demonize men; it cares about men.
You know the feminine component of the negatives of emotional detachment is emotional cannibalism, where a woman's emotions people have to revolve around them.
Yeah, like
And
being a drama queen.
Yeah. Okay, but let's. I want to get through this.
Okay, me too.
Yeah, I know. Sorry.
Those behaviors are inherent or biological traits of men. There's nothing toxic about just being a man, but some men do act in toxic ways. So in other words, toxic masculinity is not something that men are, rather it's something that some men do. Alright, so let's return to our friend Biff here.
I'm just pausing for the banana just to make sure.
Okay, so is there toxic femininity?
No.
That's the thing. Like, if you're going to talk about toxic masculinity, unless you're actually creating a gender divide here, because you are associating, even if you're just associating with a subset of men, these toxic behaviors, even if you're just associating with a subset of black people, nigger behaviors, you are still associating negative behavior with that group and not with white people or women. Because you're not allowing for, I don't know what would be the equivalent for white people, or you're not allowing
Crackers?
for toxic, I don't know if crackers really,
No.
You're not allowing for toxic crackerinity or toxic femininity. You're not
I love
allowing
toxic
for that.
masculinity.
You're not,
No.
you are creating a divide. No matter how you try to explain it to yourself and say you're not doing it, you are doing it. You are saying that this group of people, I get to judge them for their behavior, and they have the subset of negative behaviors. But you're not applying that equally to women.
I do actually. I do. According to feminist logic, there is something called that is toxic femininity, but expresses itself in two ways. One, toxic femininity in the eyes of feminists is just what happens when women have no choice but to respond to the patriarchal culture they live in, sometimes in violent ways. But they still act out in male behaviors, but they're doing it because of the patriarchy. They can't really control themselves. This is how they act out. This is feminist logic I'm looking at. The other
no,
one,
I know.
the other one is worse. It's internalized misogyny. It's what you ladies are expressing right now.
I know. I have so much.
Yeah.
I have so much.
So much.
So much. It's I've just accepted my fate now. Yeah.
Right.
I'm rolling with it. But I would love to see, and it's probably already been done, but I would love to see someone address the whole idea that when you assume there is a toxic masculinity, you are, by definition, assuming there's also a toxic femininity. And I would love to see it all broken down, and at the end, it be attributed to, oh my gosh, they're all human behaviors, aren't they? That both men and women can do. So basically, humans can be assholes.
Yeah, it's all what we consider toxic masculinity is just the assumption that men are less moral than women.
Yep.
And more prone to overtly violent behavior, and more prone to destructive behavior. And frankly, there's this assumption that men, and this boggles my mind, that I'll let you get on in a second, sorry, but I rarely have an opportunity to talk about it. There's this assumption that men are dumb, and that irritates the crap out of me, because I've worked as a professional tutor. And no. The men are not dumb. They're not an order of magnitude dumber than women. And that really bothers me, that there's that assumption that you're all just knuckle dragging thugs, right?
Yeah, well, that's because the kind of men that those women are that say that, the kind of men that those women typically are interested in or become attracted to or become involved with, they tend to exhibit those behaviors. And even if they're not dumb, they just sort of, I mean, that's what I think. I think that the women that typically do that mess around with guys that are more thuggish, more, they're more hyper masculine and all that. And then they say, oh, well, they're all just like knuckle dragging cavemen. No, the guys whose dicks you suck are those kinds of men. And you're angry because they didn't turn into the man you wanted to change him into. Because that's the first thing that happens is they say, well, he's got some of the traits I like, but I just want to change the bad stuff into something that's more like what I want, so that I can start a family with this person. And they either succeed in doing it, and then after they've emasculated him, they say, man, you know what? My pussy doesn't get wet for this guy anymore. Or it doesn't work out.
Yes.
Yeah, and it doesn't work out, and they break up, and she's like, oh, men, they're all knuckle dragging, fucking Neanderthals. No, bitch. It's your problem. You're the one that's making bad choices. You're the one that needs to figure out that you are the common denominator in every one of your failed relationships. All right, that's it.
Okay.
I'm gonna hit play.
That was right, though. I agree.
Yeah, you're right.
Now, Biff is an obvious buffoon. I mean, he's a schoolyard bully. He's like a cartoon villain. His actions are easy to spot and understand as damaging, because really, toxic masculinity is what defines him as a character.
You heard him, girls. Party's over.
At every point in Back to the Future, there might as well be a giant neon sign hanging over Biff's head that says, hey, this is the bad guy.
Well, yeah, because that's a movie. I'm just pausing for the banana butt. Notice that Biff was in a hot tub with a couple of hot chicks, by the way. They chose him. I'm just saying. They chose him because he had the traits that they liked, and they said, I'm going to get in the hot tub with Biff. If we're gonna go there, and we're going to analyze...
Maybe they have toxic femininity, huh?
Yeah, maybe.
Maybe they like thugs because they are thugs.
No, that's internalized misogyny, because they secretly hate themselves. And that's why they chose that man. Because they didn't choose Jonathan Macintosh. And instead they chose him. Because he has status and shit. Anyway. Okay, moving on.
So that's really easy. But things are rarely so clear-cut. In the real world, all kinds of men can participate in toxic masculinity, including seemingly normal guys.
Yeah, here's I told you. He's setting up Biff. We all hate Biff, and now this is the payload. Everybody's a sinner!
Oh, yeah.
Nerdy or charming or witty or
so yeah, even if they're nerdy or charming or witty or intelligent, they can be just like Biff. They can have Biff-like behavior.
Mm-hmm.
Intelligent. Since toxic masculinity is a set of behaviors and not a biological trait, the real men who participate are not really one-dimensional character archetypes like Biff, and they usually don't do all of the things on the list.
All right, so of course now he's trying to make a comparison between Trump and Biff. Now I want to say a few things about Trump. He came from a family where he had both of his parents. He was not hit as a child. The guy doesn't even drink. He did not spank his own children. He raised them to be very intelligent. He is actually a good father at the very least. Now, and I'm not going to speak to his politics. I'm not going to speak to his policies or any of that. But basically, he's not a bad guy. All right? And you can see that in the way that he raised his family. But here's the thing. Macintosh doesn't like him, and he doesn't know why. It's just because he either bought into all the bullshit that the media talked about, or because he just decided because he's rich, he's a rich, white, straight male, therefore he's the enemy. Regardless,
the hot wife.
Yeah, with a hot wife that he doesn't have, because Anita doesn't give him any. Not that I would want any of that, but seriously, this is a, I mean, that's just what he's just trying to draw an equivalence. And the thing is that these two characters are not alike, but he wants us to think that they are, and he does it on surface level bullshit. Again, I'm not necessarily speaking on behalf of Trump's policies or his politics or whatever, but I'm an empiricist. I'm looking at what is, and these things are not the same. So it's not about making a defense in the name of some ideology. It's just calling out Jonathan McIntosh's bullshit, which is what this is.
Okay, well,
What an interesting... sorry.
Oh, no, go ahead.
What an interesting message it is to be telling men that here's someone who is successful, has a hot wife, has a good career, is getting a ton of attention, has established himself, and he's everything you shouldn't be.
Yeah.
What the fuck, right?
That's it. You don't
You're telling
achieve
men
anything.
to fail.
Yeah. No, well,
Don't achieve anything.
Yeah, because, again, in the minds of these people, everybody should be equal. And the only way you can do that is to make everybody equally shit. Everybody should be equally shit. Venezuela level
Harrison
shit.
Bergeron.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Idiocracy.
Okay.
sometimes they do, but usually that's not the case.
I'm rolling my eyes so hard at you now, Macintosh.
That was fucking cringy as shit, man.
Yeah,
He's
I'm
just
sure
basically like, they look alike, they must be the same guy. I totally showed two pictures that look similar, and therefore, I'm making a point. But you're not. You're not even making an argument. You're...
Yeah. I mean, we did mock him in the beginning and could be considered cringeworthy in the same context, but it's like...
Yeah, but you can dismiss that if you want to, because we also spend most of our time making arguments.
Yep, that's true. All right.
All right.
Banana.
There's a mistaken impression out there that toxic masculinity means that everything about masculinity is somehow toxic. But that is not the case. In fact, the term toxic masculinity is used very deliberately to try to differentiate the more damaging or destructive male behaviors from more positive male behaviors.
Serve women and don't hurt women, and then you're not engaging in toxic masculinity. That's it. That's it. Don't hurt women, serve women. That is what... He's not going to say that, but I can't find any other way to frame it except that. Toxic masculinity is a way to keep men in line so that they do what feminists want, which is serve women, don't hurt women.
As feminists define it, don't hurt women.
Yeah,
or don't allow women to be hurt. It's
and
like
don't allow women
toxic.
to be hurt, yes.
The opposite of toxic masculinity is Asimov's 3 rules of robotics, or 3 laws.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's like the 3 laws of robotics. Exactly.
When it comes to this term, it's really important to understand that it's used to reinforce the fact that there are many different types and formulations of masculinity, or as R.W. Connell puts it, different masculinities. And since there are many ways to practice masculinity, we as men can choose not to engage in the more toxic behaviors and instead choose to pursue more positive, empathetic, and cooperative forms of masculinity. Now, we only just scratched the surface here.
All right, well, that's the end. So
this is the shill. You know what? I'm gonna judge his shill too. I'm gonna.
I go back?
Go back. Let's I'm gonna go into judging his shill as well. It was 6:15, by the way. We need the entirety of it.
Okay.
You're at 6:12. It's registering 6:20 on where I am.
When I hit play, it'll start from 6.
There we go.
So what you're saying is that men have a wide variety of behaviors that all people engage in. They choose to be better people. So why do you have to call that toxic masculinity? Why do you have to? This doesn't add a fucking thing to it. Don't be an asshole. Don't be a cunt. Okay, thanks, Jonathan McIntosh. Thank you for that great wisdom. That's not the point. That's not the point of this, is that the conclusion is do not be a cunt. The point is to associate negative human behaviors with a group of people and to presume the position of judging them. And that's it. And you're doing that based entirely on biology. And don't tell me you're not when you say, oh, these are not behaviors that these are behaviors that are they're not biologically based. Well, excuse me, but you are saying that only one biological group engages in toxic masculinity as, toxic masculinity. This is something you're basing your stereotype and your sexism on a bio group. That's the boundary of the group that you're targeting with this message.
Mm-hmm.
So it is based on biology.
I think men and women should choose how they behave based on what it benefits them, what their sense of morality and ethics are, what is their success rate, what does it do for them. I don't think we need to put this is toxic and this is good. I think people are going to figure it out pretty damn quickly. And by telling people, well, these behaviors are toxic and these ones are okay, is just insulting to men's and women's intelligence. We know when we're being jack-offs. You know, we know pretty quickly if we're out in society because other people are eventually going to go, hey, you're being a... We don't need Macintosh telling people, okay, this hyper-competitiveness, guys, you need to stop doing that. Oh, fuck off. If men want to be hyper-competitive, live by the sword, die by the sword, they'll figure it out. If they don't want to be hyper-competitive, then they won't be.
Yep.
All right. I think we should probably get to the end because people were in the patron chat were saying that this stream is having some issues with buffering.
Is it?
Yeah.
It says stream is working okay.
Okay. I could be wrong.
Let's skip past the shill because I want to look at the individual.
No. I want to judge the shill. The shill is of interest to me.
All right.
The shill is of interest to me.
I'll let it play.
As a crafter of shills, I want to see how he's crafted his shill.
Well, let's get to the. Can I just play
Maybe
it
I
to
can
the
learn
end?
from it.
We can play it to the end of the shill and then go from
Yeah,
there.
but you're gonna have to...
Now we only
I don't think we'll get.
just scratch the surface.
Okay.
Here, but I'll leave some links and resources in the box below if you want to learn more. I hope this video did give you a better understanding of this term and maybe help clear up some of the misunderstandings about it. If you'd like to see more videos related to media and manhood, just hop on over to my Patreon page and help fund the Pop Culture Detective Agency.
That shill was totally... That wasn't a shill. I didn't feel stirred in the slightest. What kind of shill is that?
It was a shit.
You gotta stir me.
It wasn't a shill. It was a shit.
Yeah. And it wasn't a shit-stirring shill either.
No.
It was just a shit.
Whenever
Okay.
I see Pop Culture Detective Agency, I honest to God think of Blue's Clues. I can't help it. It's just
does,
Blue's
yeah, I
Clues
can see
pops
that.
up. It does. Thank you.
You know
Thank
what?
you.
I wouldn't be
Yes.
surprised if there is a concerted effort to try to get a younger audience looking at this stuff. I would not be surprised. Because that's what Lacey Green does, and that's what Francesca Ramsey does. They try to get the youth who are impressionable and don't have dads at home to think their way, and it's effective, I think. All right. Well, anyway, I'm going to show. Let's look at the individual instances, and I'm not going to spend too much time on this, but I'm going to look at the individual instances that he spoke about. Now, I couldn't find any video examples of what he calls emotional detachment, but I think we talked a little bit about that. And that, it's either, one extreme end of it, it's simply stoicism. I wouldn't even call that extreme, but I think that's just what most men practice. And part of it has to do with the fact that they have to, because they don't live in a world that actually gives a shit about their feelings, because there's shit to do. And they have to put their personal desires aside to get something done. And it's actually, very useful. I mean, not only in service of something bigger than yourself, but even for yourself. That drive to get up in the morning and do something because you want to do something for your family or for your future or for your wife or for your community or whatever, that comes from your ability to be stoic. And, so what? You have a hangover, or you have a headache, or you don't feel like it, don't wanna, whatever it is. That's where that comes from. You don't get to just whine and say, I don't want to do this. And then people say, okay, and they coddle you and they put you back in bed and tuck you in and give you chicken soup. That's just not the way things get done. So that was but I couldn't find any real evidence of that. But I did find something for hyper-competitiveness. So I want to show you a video. It doesn't need music or anything. So we should not have any issues with... we shouldn't have any issues. So this is a Michael Jordan highlight reel. And the reason why I'm showing this is because as a Chicagoan, our...
Brian, can you turn the sound off?
I did. You have to turn it off on your end on your own. I did turn it off for the video so people can't see it. Michael Jordan is known by many to probably be the greatest athlete in history. At the very least, the greatest basketball player. But here's the thing about Michael Jordan that a lot of people don't consider. Not only was he great, But he made his entire team great. And the reason why was because they all wanted to match him or exceed him. And not only did he make his entire team, the Chicago Bulls, great, but he made every other team in the league better because they all wanted to beat him. This is what competition does. Competition improves everybody because they all get driven, inspired, or otherwise motivated to be better. Be better than themselves and be better than other people. It actually speaks volumes to that. And this Michael Jordan highlight reel is just so you can see. I mean, for those of you guys who don't know how good he was. But this is like, you know, this is what hyper-competitiveness, I don't even know what hyper means. But I mean, this is what competitiveness does. It improves everyone. And people who don't want to engage in it, those are people that just, they're either too lazy or they just don't have interest. But at the very least, they're not going to tell other people that they shouldn't engage in it. And this is what Jonathan Macintosh tries to do. He says, well, you shouldn't do it because there's something bad about it. There's something harmful about being competitive. And I don't want to play too much of this video, but this is basically like what I was getting at. So
no, and that was one of the things on the list that I thought should not have been on the list because hyper competition is a good thing. It is a good thing. And if male version of hyper competition versus the female version of hyper competition, not a lot of male ice skaters need to hit their opponents in the knee, hey?
Mm-hmm.
So we could do an entire study on how differ in men and women, and I think the men would not come out on the really toxic side of that. Just you know, on prima facie.
No, I hear you. Now I'm going to give you an example of aggression and intimidation. But sorry, let's go to the end.
Why do you wear your hair like that? Your hair looks so sexy pushed back. Katie, will you please tell him his hair looks sexy pushed back?
Regina was dangling Aaron in front of me on purpose. I knew how this would be settled in the animal world.
All right, so this is a clip from Mean Girls. I'm just pausing it for the banana just to make sure. This is it going on in her head. So she's saying, this is what I would like to do. But I can't do that, right?
This was Girl World.
Your hair looks sexy.
Yeah, no, but actually she's absolutely right. And she's even right that referencing there is female competition over men too, or males in the animal kingdom as well.
Mm-hmm.
Pretty fierce in some cases. This is something that I think a lot of MGTOW pickup artists don't realize because I don't think they do much study into. Well, I don't want to say that as a sweeping statement, but there is stuff that's coming out of anthropology and biology now that is suggesting that our emphasis on seeing female animals as competed over without looking at the competition that female animals engage in is maybe erroneous.
Mm-hmm.
So she's right. That is how it would happen in the wild. And probably the victor would be the stronger female.
Yep.
Or she'd try to insert herself while he was mating with the female of his choice.
Mm-hmm.
Which would be fucking interesting to watch.
Oh my god, no. I had a point, and now it's gone into pervland. Oh no.
Oh, is there like a porn category for that? Is there like?
Oh no. Of women fighting over men? Absolutely.
Well, not
oh my gosh.
I'm talking about like if you look at like there's these antelope. I forget what they're called. But they have leaks, which are where the dominant, highly desirable male will have a leak, and all of the females will go to these leaks to get serviced, as it were. And male will take a female of his choice, and then the other female will attempt to insert herself between him and his partner.
Nice.
And I'm just wondering if there's any fetish porn like that.
2 girls, $1 buck. Yeah.
Yeah, 2 girls and they're trying to insert. I can imagine lots of like lube oil or something.
Yeah. No, it's true.
But not like wrestling. Like they're trying to insert.
No, oh my god. What I was gonna say, I had a point here in my brain. I'm actually blushing. Thank you, Allison. No, I had a point. I was gonna say that if I recall correctly, in wolf packs, the alpha female will actually harry the secondary females and harass them to the point where they don't go into estrus anymore. So they're no longer a physiological threat to reproduction. Whereas the alpha males will use more overt forms of violence and driving off. The alpha females will just bug them, just needle them constantly.
Kind of like
until
humans.
Exactly.
Well, let me play the rest of this clip because she starts with, this is how it would have been handled in the animal world because, spoiler, Lindsay Lohan's character, yes, this is Lindsay Lohan, isn't she cute, came from Africa, so that's sort of like the recurring theme. And then she says, but this is girl world, so girl world is different.
This was girl world.
Your hair looks sexy pushed back.
And in girl world, all the fighting had to be sneaky.
So she said in girl world, all the fighting has to be sneaky.
Well, how is she fighting back there? I didn't see it.
She had to fight back. She had to fight back by essentially not being affected, because the other girl was dangling a boy that she liked in front of her, and then she had to basically say, "I don't care," essentially, right? So she played along, but essentially by not feeding the trolling that the blonde was trying to instill. So, all right. So now. Next one is violence and intimidation. Guess what? Girls fight. And it's not this is not something that is the domain of men. In fact, when girls fight, it can be really brutal. And a lot of times when guys fight, they actually become friends afterwards. It's like they work out their aggression. Yes. And then they say, all right, well, we had that fight and now, we're cool. But when girls fight, typically this does not repair their relationships.
Watching girls fight just bugs me because they do all this slappy, pushy shit, and I'm just like, could somebody please close their fist and keep their wrist steady and cock them properly? It's just from a technical standpoint.
Well, I mean,
Pee-Pee Longstockings though, she got yeah.
She's fucking focused. Look at this shit.
Yeah, well,
she's getting beat on by like 3 other girls, and she's like, "No, I'm like a freaking Doberman with something in my teeth. I'm not, or a pit bull. Arr!
Yeah,
you're going down, bitch."
Pippi Longstockings has quite the pain threshold.
Yeah. No shit.
Yeah. Oh my god.
Oh my god.
But anyway, it goes on.
I mean, the form isn't fucking great, but
other fights too. Go ahead.
It's passionate. Yeah.
I mean, this is basically a compilation of girls fighting. And you can find tons of these on YouTube. I mean, like worldstarhiphop.com has tons of this stuff. And some of them are really brutal. Most of the time, though, it's like you said, it's hair pulling and, wrestling and backstabbing and sneaking and shit.
Something's going to happen here. Oh, there it goes. Yeah, they're trying to keep their heads back.
Well, they don't want to...
Well, actually, that's really dumb because that actually puts you in the prime position for being hit. Like, it's actually harder to hit when you're closer to the person than when you're in arm length. So.
Yeah.
Oh, come on. That could have been a choke. Come on.
Did
you see that? She had a great
clip.
setup for a choke. Okay, continue.
All
Sorry.
right, I'm going to go on to the next clip. I think we get the girl fights part. It's pretty straightforward. Now,
well, I'm actually enjoying the girl fights. Let's continue.
All right, we play more of that. That's fine.
I like the girl. I'm liking backseat driving on this shit. Oh, Jesus Christ! No, sit on her stomach. Knee on stomach works too. Yeah, you need to work on your groundwork there, lady.
Yeah.
Oh, she won. That's it. Tapped out.
Yeah. It's like that's done. Oh, she's moving around. She didn't actually. All right. What's the next one?
Oh, wow. This is almost like capoeira.
Yeah, a little bit. If they were not.
Yeah. With the swinging and the there.
Yeah, that's actually not too bad.
Yeah. Oh, here we go. Take her shirt off. Take your shirt off. You're all faking it.
Come on,
I see you.
Get the takedown. Come on. Come, get that leg. God damn it.
Sweep the leg.
Sweep the leg.
Oh, what was that?
Okay, she's giving it her back. She's giving. Take the back. Get your freaking
attempt at a judo flip.
Get your hooks in. Get your hooks in.
Yeah.
Take her down. Do a back choke or do a choke. God damn it! Like lost all my fucking terminology. Take her back. Get your hooks in. Do a choke. Ugh. Your form is shit.
Down,
Let's
forward,
do the
and
next
punch.
one.
Okay.
Next one.
All
This
right,
is like
all right,
this
next
is like
one.
so much fun. Okay. Yeah.
I kind of want like a cup
No,
of
that's
tea.
that's
no.
the same one. I'm trying to skip
Oh.
to.
Yeah. Like I'm not interested in the part where they're just fucking milling around saying, "What was that?" Derp, 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 derp. Okay.
Wow, she's like on a curb and shit.
It's this one's a little bit. When is he taking his pants off?
Is he gonna pee on them?
I don't know.
Is this like some R. Kelly
God.
shit that's about to go down?
Maybe some semen will cool these bitches down.
Oh no.
Oh man. Okay, no. Okay, this one.
It's too hard to see what's going on.
Yeah, it's too chaotic.
This is like the Blair Witch School of YouTubing.
Yeah, exactly.
I can't see shit.
Yeah, no, it's a little too Blair Witch.
Why is it whenever people videotape stuff like this, they always hold their phone up? Turn that motherfucker sideways so we can get like some.
It's probably just because it's adrenaline, and they usually put their phone that way. So they're when you're in a situation like that, you're basically back to muscle memory.
Mm-hmm.
So if you always carry your phone in an upright position and you're in a situation where you have a lot of adrenaline rushing through you, you're just going to do exactly what you usually do. That's why
that's the end of the. That was the last one. So.
Damn it. Okay.
I'm sorry, but no. After that, it was just like a subscribe thing. Like, please subscribe. All right. So I'm gonna now this.
No, not this. No.
You know this one, right? Okay.
Yes.
So this is.
I'll zip it
I'm
down.
gonna put the volume. So this one is about sexual objectification and sexually predatory behavior, and more like sexual objectification. And this is a man that walks through New York for 3 hours. Okay. But women don't engage in this stuff. This is a masculine behavior, apparently.
Hey, what's up, big man?
Oh! It's the guy from Family Guy. No. Oh my god, she's trotting.
She's trotting? Well,
she sort of pranced. She pranced up to him.
She pranced
I forgot
up.
how good this was.
Hello, my lady.
I forgot. Yes, I forgot how good this was.
Good.
Oh, Jesus. Like, he's getting harassed by a lot of guys. I mean, because a lot of these, this is...
What?
He's walking through the gay
I
neighborhood.
forgot about the ferry. Yeah,
I
forgot about the ferry.
Is this
He was
really the
awesome.
gay area, or is he just walking around? Oh my god!
Her
That one girl was just staring at him until her boyfriend turned her around. Just like complete...
Yeah, she was about to have to go to the hospital for breaking her neck.
Yeah. Oh man.
All right, last clip. This is about sexually predatory behavior, which again is supposedly the domain of men. And Macintosh is not going to respond to this, but obviously. All right. Or
I met Tristan at the beginning of May 2014. I was 29 and he was 17. He came into my classroom, he introduced himself, and he asked for my number. We text back and forth for 3.5 weeks. The last week of texting, it was a little bit more flirtatious. On one of the text messages, I explained that I was tired, and then...
I'm just pausing it for the banana just in case, because it is Dr. Phil. But this is a teacher who basically, her student, I guess, according to her, flirted with her, and then they exchanged numbers, and they started texting and sexting and so on.
He did reply back.
I can't even laugh at all about this. It bugs the shit out of me.
No, it's terrible.
It was
I don't
just
think Brian is intending this as for laughter.
No, but
we
like
love the switchback on Honey Badger Radio.
Yeah, a lot of times I'll laugh at stuff even when it's horrible, as a way of kind of deflecting and whistling in the dark. But I can't even bring myself to make jokes about this. It is so abhorrent to me.
Good massages, and I said, oh really, that would be nice. I didn't think it was wrong. It never once felt like I was talking to a child. I wasn't thinking, wait a minute, I'm a teacher, because I felt this was all happening outside of school. We decided to meet up. He came over to my house at 3 o'clock in the morning. There's a knock at the door. I let him in.
At 3 o'clock in the morning, he showed up at her house. And she thought, well, I guess he's just coming over. Come on, bitch. You know what he was coming over for, and you know you wanted it.
Well, but yes... I mean, it's not exactly. He was 17, right?
Yeah.
Or 15.
No, he was he was a high school student. I think he was 17, but I could be wrong.
But she's still in a position of power over him, so this is completely this is completely unprofessional and also exploitative.
But, I mean, just it doesn't even matter what you think about it. But if you reverse the genders, most people would find this unacceptable. If it was a male teacher that was flirting with his female student, even if she was 17 and had probably wasn't a virgin and all that, this would not be acceptable. And Macintosh,
no, it'd be an SVU episode.
Yeah, somebody like Macintosh or any other feminist on the internet would it would become a giant expose, and they'd be talking about how how there shouldn't be males in teaching positions anymore because this stuff happens too often, even though it happened this one time, whatever. But when women are fucking their students, that seems to be an extremely common problem. Because there was a story just the other day.
She didn't realize it was wrong. She didn't realize it was wrong. That was her defense.
No, that's exactly it. She says, I didn't think it was legally wrong. She literally says that. Come on. But
how about ethically wrong?
I
didn't realize that I would get in trouble.
There was actually a story.
I didn't realize there would be a negative effect on myself.
Yeah, I didn't know. I'm a victim. I didn't know. There was actually a story just the other day, literally 2 days ago or something, where a woman who's a teacher had blown her students and allowed them to run a train on her, and they caught her. Yeah. Okay, let's continue.
And then we did go immediately to the bedroom, and one thing led to another from there.
I like how she smiles. I boned him. It was kind of awesome, but I didn't know. I thought I was okay.
That night was the last time I had contact with Tristan. That following Tuesday.
How did Dr. Phil respond to this?
The clip doesn't go that long. I mean, I don't really know.
Principal's office.
Go ahead.
Essentially, we're using this clip to prove that women can be sexually predatory too.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, you'll notice that she makes herself out to be a victim, or at least she makes herself. She somehow removes her agency in all of this. She just sort of floated onto his dick. Just.
Sorry, Mrs. H. I tripped and stuck my dick in you.
Yeah, just by complete accident. She just sort of drifted and somehow managed to just be enveloping his penis. That's what female rapists do. I don't know. I'm not sure if I'd go as far as to call her she's definitely a statutory rapist because she's abusing a position of power. But that's what they do. They essentially, female rapists will do that. It's, as we might call it, toxic femininity. They will they will imply that somehow they just sort of drifted onto some man's dick with a gun in their hands, and I don't know how it happened. I put a gun, and I just sort of drifted, and I just happened to have a gun in my hand. I just happened to the rohypnol just happened to drift out of my hand over his drink, and the knife just happened to drip to his throat. I didn't do a damn thing. Was me? Didn't do nothing. That's the way female rapists conceive of what they do. Is that they can't see the themselves as taking an action. Therefore, they're justified. Because if you don't take an action, you can't blame for the action being taken.
But I was having such a rough time. You don't understand. I was at such a rough time in my life. I'd just gotten divorced. I didn't feel attractive anymore. And I had this connection with this. I mean, he wasn't a boy. He was a man. The way he talked to me and looked at me. And he made me feel like a woman again. Mm-hmm. Yeah, you just don't understand where I was. I needed this. Yeah. I don't know about this clip with Dr. Phil, and I loved your rant, Allison, by the way. But I know in other clips, because he does this a lot. He does a lot of female teachers who have relationships with male students, and he usually is decent at saying, no, actually, what you did was an abuse of authority and wrong. I was watching one with him where the kid actually impregnated her. So now he has all that child support stuff. Yay. On top of everything. And Dr. Phil was not kind to her. So I'm hoping he was not kind in this clip as well.
Okay, well, that's one of the big reasons why, at least in the case of women who are exploiting underage boys, is underage boys may not be able to understand the consequences of their actions, realize that a child support levy, or that they're going to end up being hit with child support if she gets pregnant, and there's no way to get out of it, and that's the end of his future.
Yep.
Like there's aspects of that. She's an adult. As an adult in power over these kids, she should be advocating for their best interests, not predatorily using their innocence to get her jills off.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's more than just the sex. It's the consequences.
Yep. And one thing I've noticed is all of these women tend to be very well groomed. They tend to spend a lot of money on their appearance. I think there's definitely an ego and vanity aspect happening here. And yet very few people are sort of pointing a finger at that and saying, you're concentrating on the wrong things here. You are interested in yourself and what this is doing for you.
Mm-hmm.
Because these aren't women that can't get men who are their intellectual or peers. These aren't women who can't find mates in their age group. There is something specific and predatory about seeking out underage boys because it gives them an ego boost. And yeah. But they're not ugly though. If you look at them, they're not ugly.
No, but maybe it also helps them feel young, because if they're like getting into their 30s. And they may still look attractive, and they may still be very concerned with their appearance and so on, but they may feel like they're not as young as they used to be, and that's sort of concerning them. Plus, the wall is coming; they could see it.
Yeah, I was just about to say. They're hitting that wall.
Yeah, and then on top of that, well, you know what? Let's just continue the video.
She sat me down and said that a video had surfaced of a student at the school and a coach having sex. He had his phone in his pocket, and then while having sex, he pulled it out and I didn't see it, so I didn't notice, and it was only about 10 seconds. He's admitted that he distributed the video to 11 of his friends through his phone, and then from there the video went to, I don't know, numerous amounts of people.
So now she's the victim, of because he took a 10-second video, as he did with his phone. Which I'm not excusing the boy's behavior in this, but the point of this is to show that women are capable of these things that Jonathan Macintosh describes as toxically masculine behavior, which basically means they're not really toxically masculine behavior. And if you remove this idea that gender is a social construct, that men and women are things that they are accidents, they are things that are socialized into people, and there's nothing biological about them that makes us different. And then you basically divide the behaviors that we consider to be masculine or feminine. They lump in all the stuff that's negative in the masculine pile, and then when women behave in those ways, they don't say this is something that both genders are capable of doing. They just say women are adopting masculine behaviors. So he's going to dismiss and excuse it by saying, well, that's just... Or he'll say, what is it the feminists say when it comes to teachers fucking their students? The reason why we do that is because it's still sexism against women, because we see women as, innocent and incapable of engaging in these behaviors, because we assume that they're weak and therefore can't do it. And that's still misogyny, even if it's preying on boys, or at the very least entertaining boys' proclivities to have sex by saying, well, if you're going to have sex, you may as well be having sex with me. So I don't know.
I think there's also the golden vagina idea, and I've met a great many women, even ones who are more aware than usual, who still have this idea that their vagina is like a gift for men. Like sharing it is an act of largesse, noblesse oblige. I will share my magical golden lady parts with you, and you will be grateful for the opportunity, because it is only by my goodwill that you will drink from my whites only drinking fountain. And hey,
yeah, we have to get past this whole idea that women when men and women have sex, it's because women are giving them something. Like they're granting men the opportunity for sex. Like, or how women will punish their boyfriends or their husbands by saying, well, he's not getting any tonight. That is built on the presumption that when men and women have sex, women are giving something up, that they're surrendering something. And the fact is that they're doing something together. And a lot of times, the women that really think that their vagina is made out of gold and tastes like honey and all that, they're actually the worst in bed. Those are the ones that.
Oh my God, you're not even kidding.
I'm not.
You're not even kidding.
Because they don't think they have to do anything. They just have to show up, and they're just like, "Well, I'm here. You should be grateful." No.
This is fine. It's the dead deer. You know what I'm talking about, right? Mm-hmm. The dead deer, where they're just kind of like roadkill. Like, I'm here, and they lie there like they've been hit by a car. Yeah. Oh my God, it's so true though.
We got to get out of that.
Do we have to? Okay. Just. I know this is selfish, but do we have to go through this whole fucking thing?
No, we don't have to go through the whole thing. I'll just get to the end of her story.
I know. I'm terrible. I'm like, yeah, let's look at the fights, but I don't want to watch this fucking weepy woman talk about how she was abused by a fucking 17-year-old boy that she slept with. Continue, but
found out there was a tape. I was in shock, felt betrayed. We had been talking for almost a month, so I trusted him that I could have sex with him and him not say anything, and we could keep it a secret.
Oh, fucking God!
Mm-hmm. I like how all the photos of the boy are like these, like, they have like this, he's kind of arrogant, he's smiling. It's almost like he was there and he doesn't give a shit. But they can't actually interview the boy and ask him what he thinks, so instead they just have these pictures of him going, "Yeah, I hit it." But those are not pictures from that incident. They're just photos. And you know what? If he is
keep it a secret, she sounds like a fucking grooming pedophile.
Yeah, she wanted to keep it a secret. And if it does turn out that that the boy is arrogant and cocky and his head blew up from the opportunity to have sex with a teacher, or maybe that's what she was attracted to, well, then maybe she needs to think about why she was attracted to that.
I do now feel that I was set up. I do.
She's the victim. Look at that face.
She was set up.
I got you, bitch. She was set up. Yeah, you set us up.
I feel that there was some type of motive or intent to get it out there that he had sex with a teacher.
Okay, then we can stop it there. All she does after
that.
No,
I actually want to see what Phil says now.
Okay.
I want to. This is so obnoxious. Does he immediately leap to lick between her thighs? I'm curious.
He always starts out easy, like the lube thing I said earlier. He always starts out kind of slimy with his guests, but then by the end, he either crucifies them or says it's everyone's problem but yours. So. Hopefully he'll nail her up to a cross.
You don't really get to that point in this video. It gets cut off, but I'll play what I have.
Okay, Tanya, it's good to meet you. You say you felt like you were set up.
Correct.
How so?
Well, the fact that he hid his phone, and then obviously as soon as it was finished, he distributed it to 11 of his friends. And then from there, it went viral.
Okay.
I did not want them to know that I was a slut that was so ready, and now they know.
And I didn't want people to know that I was doing something illegal.
Yeah.
Okay, all right, keep going.
Okay.
So you think it was like a trophy thing?
Correct. Like he wanted some kind of recognition after, sleeping with a teacher.
You said that afterwards you were surprised that he didn't get in touch with you.
I'm surprised that there was no communication at all, even before I had gotten into trouble.
But you did have communication with him, didn't you, the next day?
No. The next day, just one text in the morning, and that was it.
What was that text?
He texted me that he had a great night, or it was great, or something in that matter.
Oh, he is backstage. Look at him. His mom is like, what the fuck? He's like, well, it was pretty decent, but it couldn't have been that much because I'm gonna get to that because he's kind of young, but I'll get to that in a second.
And then I text back that yes, it was, that maybe we could do it again.
So y'all both had a good time. So this wasn't an impulse thing. You had been texting for 3 weeks, right?
Mm-hmm.
You say you didn't know it was wrong.
I'm just pausing for the banana.
Yeah, although I don't know where he's going with this, but at least he's pointing it out that it is wrong.
Yeah.
Well, I'm saying I didn't think it was legally wrong. I know, obviously, with my profession, I crossed a boundary, with the contract that I signed. But legally, I didn't think I would be classified
With the contract that she signed, not the kid that she seduced.
No, it's about the contract.
Yeah.
All right, gotcha. Okay.
Felon
Banana.
being charged with having sex with a consenting adult.
Kid's not an adult. Unless they're in some state where they are, but they didn't really clarify that.
I mean, there has to be a line that's drawn.
Well, it depends on the state, because this is clearly in the U.S., I think. And different states have different ages of consent. So if the boy, if this took place in a state where the age of consent is low enough that the boy is considered an adult, then maybe the only problem is the fact that she did it as a teacher to her student. But, you see, that's splitting hairs, because I'm not trying to defend her or anything, because what I'm looking at is the double standard. Because if this was a male teacher and a female student, we wouldn't be working out the minutia. That male teacher would not be on Dr. Phil, because he'd be behind bars. He wouldn't even be able to talk about this situation. That's the fact. All right, anyway.
So you knew from a teacher standpoint, just teacher ethics,
Correct.
that it was a breach of your
Contract.
contractual agreement.
Right.
It's about ethics and sexual education. Okay, I'm moving on.
So you have no problem with that part of it. You said, I
Exactly.
agreed not to have sex with the students.
Mm-hmm.
And then you did.
Mm-hmm.
But you thought, okay, so then fire me, but don't charge me as a felon.
Correct.
So you were surprised when you were charged.
Yes.
Okay, wait a second. You realize that you're also a citizen, which means that technically you have signed a contract with the government. So if you break the laws, yeah, that's sort of. Well, I know not technically you've signed. We can get into like the sovereign citizen movement, but seriously.
The mens rea is all over this. There's not a whiff of any kind of moral or ethical concerns. It's what will I lose? What is my risk versus reward? It's
Yeah.
Yeah, that's all she cares about. It's just her.
That's it. All she cares about is that she was caught.
And incidentally,
That's it.
despite the fact that everybody's in the chat is like, oh my, or not everybody, but the people are saying, oh, it's, that's 17. That's nothing. That's like, that's not that. That's just statutory rape isn't real rape, et cetera, et cetera. Statistically, this boy is more likely to go on to rape women because he was abused as a teenager by an adult woman. For whatever reason, that's when in particular, this particular type of damage seems to happen. So, yeah, I guess you can say it's not that important, but this is the behavior. This is the situation that statistically appears through correlation to correlate most to that boy going on to become a rapist. Not to say that every boy who goes through that situation is going to become a rapist, but this particular situation correlates most with adult rapists of women. So adult male rapists of women. So I'm just putting it out there.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe there is something that's going on that's extremely negative here. Just putting it out there.
She's just thirsty as fuck. The thirst always wins, as they say in Blade. No. Okay, moving on.
I was very surprised.
Did you think he showed it around school for bragging rights?
From what I've heard, yes, it was exactly what it was. Bragging rights.
How did you find out that it had been displayed around school?
Well, from numerous amounts of people who said that the video had been sent out. And then my mother's coworker also, her niece had the video, and that's how we saw it for the first time.
You saw it with your mother?
Yes.
Whoa, what? Ew.
What did you did you think you were gonna be to him? Like, honestly, realistic, what did you think you were gonna be to him? You thought you were gonna set up a house with a picket fence and get a dog and have 2.5 kids. At your age, at his age, you are a booty call. You think he's not gonna treat you like a booty call?
Mm-hmm.
Like, what was she expecting? The boyfriend experience?
But she's more than a booty call because he showed it off to everybody in school, and she actually was taking a great deal of pride in that. She was like, yeah, he was showing off to his friends. Fuck the teacher. It was me.
A 17-year-old
He could have
boy
chose anybody. He
treats
chose
you-
me. You know.
A 17-year-old boy treats you like a Pokemon.
Mm-hmm.
And you're surprised.
Total lack of maturity. Like, no metacognitive reality check here at all.
The woman has no... She's completely immature, too.
No, that's what I mean. No, I'm talking about her.
Totally psychotic. Like, you have sex with a kid, and the kid treats it all like a fucking video game that he's Pikachu or something in.
Yep.
Well, what do you think he's going to do? He's interpreting this as a kid.
She's a thought. She's another thought.
She's just I don't know.
She was engaging in thought
rare
crimes.
Pokemon.
No, what a bum. But
all right, let's play.
How'd that go?
Well,
I don't know how I'd watch something like that with my mother.
well, it's only 10 seconds, and you can obviously tell it's, it was hidden. There's no flash. It's really quick.
You said he had the phone in his pocket?
Or on the pocket, on somewhere where he was in his grasp to reach.
Because he didn't have any pockets at the time, did he? I mean,
Well, maybe down at the floor.
oh, so
She's actually kind of smiling at that. And you know what it tells me about her? They were having sex, and she wasn't paying attention to him enough to notice him going for his phone.
Yeah, how do you not? I don't know. How do you
Well, it's because she
okay.
was. I mean, because she was probably just. I don't know, like just not paying attention to him enough to notice him going for his phone. So what does that say? I don't know that she's that great a lay. She doesn't seem to be very engaged. She was thought to trot.
Or maybe she's very engaged. I don't know.
Yeah.
Maybe she's so engaged that she didn't even. Does it really matter though? I mean, this is creepy.
No,
This
it's
is
really
creepy
fucked
shit.
up. But I'm just saying.
This is like really black humor shit at this point. All right, let's.
Exactly.
I think we
Finish
got like
it off.
On the floor?
yeah,
Yeah.
oh, so
bad
you mean
choice of words.
You didn't see it.
Right.
So it wasn't like y'all made a sex tape.
Oh, no, nothing.
He made a sex tape.
Correct.
You were just in it.
Oh,
It was more like a sex trailer. It was like a teaser.
No, 10 seconds.
Anyway, so that's those are my clips. So I don't know.
Well, I think that was actually a pretty good deconstruction of the ways in which what Macintosh listed as toxic masculinity can in fact be applied to women as well. I thought that was pretty good and pretty well laid out. So,
Yeah.
yay!
I think I don't know what else to say other than ask
Let's bring
the
you back,
people who are
Bunny
comments.
Blackwell. Hey, people in the chat. Do you guys want us to bring Bunny Blackwell back?
I don't even want to look. Hey!
Yes.
Yes.
Somebody just said yes.
Aw,
Of course-
cheers, mate.
Of course, it's not up to them anyway.
No,
We're
it
gonna
isn't.
bring
It
it
isn't
back.
up to you fuckers.
Nah.
I'm just asking because I'm that way.
That's a formality. Yeah, maybe
It's just to make you feel included. It's all an illusion.
Yeah, it's all an illusion. I couldn't give a shit. No, look, everybody's saying yes. Except for one who had to be unique and say, sure, bring Bunny back. Who? The fucking guest, idiot! Your face?
Literally who?
Oh my god.
All right, I'm ready to quit.
You know what? I'm gonna quit this fucking channel. Our fucking listeners, they're just what
I'm
the
loving
hell?
the chat right now. You guys are hysterical.
Make her permanent. Okay, well, we can't really abduct her and put her in the. I guess we could, Brian.
Hey,
Get the sack.
I thought we were just talking about toxic masculinity. I'm not even.
No, I'm saying that we will duct a he te unny hey et gay
I don't know what you're doing.
hey axe. I'm speaking in
This is
Pig
amazing.
Latin. I'm speaking in Pig Latin. Interpret it.
No.
No. No. Okay, are we over? Is this over? Like,
Hypnotized
you
by
were
the
saying.
chat right now. I'm sorry. I'm just
Oh no,
hypnotized.
you're just licking the fucking lamp now. That's just
They're so funny.
Look at that. Look
I think there's something
okay.
on the. I think there's something under there. I just want to get it.
Stop licking the phone. That's disgusting.
Now pick it up. Okay. Well, anyway.
Okay, no, but I know we need to wrap it up. I have to tear myself away from chat.
Yeah, we have to wrap it up.
Funny.
So
yeah, I have to go do like real life things.
Thank
you so.
Oh my fucking God, look at him. He's licking the lamp. Look at that. Look at that. That's Jesus Christ. That is so vile. Jesus.
Yes.
Oh my, we're gonna have such fun with that. Whoops. No, I mean in the context of. If
anybody gets that reference, put it in the comments section. Okay, so yeah, let's wrap it up. Allison, do you want to do any final words before I quit the stream?
If you like this, go. I'll do a really shitty shell on the in the tune
do
of.
it in the Jonathan Macintosh.
I'll do a Macintosh, a Jonathan Macintosh shell.
Macin shell.
Woo! I'm just really distracted by your tongue, Doge.
I'm done. I'm not doing it anymore.
I know, but I'm watching it. I may not be watching it live, so it's like it's a delayed tongue reaction.
You're getting a tongue lag.
Tongue lag, yeah. Okay, so if you
tongue lag.
If you enjoy this content, if you
stop it.
If you want Brian to stop licking things on the desk, please become a patron. www.patreon.com/honeybadgerradio. Every little bit helps, as it were. I think.
Okay.
And
thank you. Yeah, thank you for joining us.
Thank you so much for having me here. I've been a fan for a long time, so this was super exciting for me.
Yeah, and it pretty much was universal that everybody wanted you to come back. So unfortunately, we're not going to have you back because that would be pleasing them, and we don't do that.
I'm not really sure we want to do that.
We would always want to piss off. That's why we set the name.
Sadism right there.
Yeah,
Nice.
The Firermahgerdden, the rezerkening chat 42. Because we knew
the rezerkening chat number 42, toxic Macintosh. And
when I suggested that name, Brian was like, that's going to piss everyone off. And I was like, and he's like, we can't do that. It's going to piss everyone. I'm like, we have to do it. Just because it will piss everyone off.
Okay. If you imagine PewDiePie saying it, it's awesome. Firermahgerdden, bruh. It's amazing. That's what I hear in my head. Yeah.
Firermahgerdden, the rezerkening chat 42.
Turks.
All
right. I'm calling it. We're out of here.
Okay. Thank you.